So at long last, after a year and a half of rumours, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is finally going to be coming to the Disneyland Park. And we also have an update regarding the version being built at Walt Disney World. So let's dive into all of that up next. Hi there Waltoneers, I'm Jack and this is of course DSNY Newscast, and you know what, this is some major breaking news, so let's just jump straight into it. As seemingly out of nowhere today, the new Disneyland president, Josh D'Amaro, who was previously the vice president at Walt Disney World, posted this cryptic Instagram post. As today, Disney decided to reveal that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway will be coming to the Disneyland Park. And if this news sounds sort of familiar to you, it's because we first brought you this rumour nearly a year and a half ago, back in November of 2017 on this channel. And then we covered it again in December, January and most recently in February. But along with this big announcement, we also have the targeted opening year for this new attraction, as it's set to open sometime within 2022. Which isn't massively surprising, as unlike Disney's Hollywood studios, Disneyland Resort will have to construct an entirely new show building to house this innovative 2.5D attraction. And if you're wondering to yourself where it's going to be going, well, we've previously reported that it's going to be built just north of Toontown, in the location of some of the old maintenance buildings, as recently we've received information that they have been relocated just off site of Disneyland. Thus meaning that for the entrance of this brand new attraction, it will most likely have to be in the location of one of the Toontown buildings, with many rumours indicating that the entrance for this attraction at Disneyland will be where the Gag Factory 5 and Dime is currently located, but of course it will be reimagined and rethemed to the new attraction. However, what was also buried down at the bottom of this Disney Parks blog post was the news that the Walt Disney World version of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway has now been delayed from the previous opening window of fall of 2019 and has now officially been pushed back to spring of 2020. Which lines up with what we've been hearing by the reliable insiders on the WDW Magic forums. As despite Disneyland having to build an entirely new show building for the attraction, Walt Disney World's version is reimagining the former Great Movie Ride building, the Chinese Theatre, and could be seen to be a more difficult task. But the project leader for this attraction, Kevin Rafferty, has previously mentioned how flexible the 2.5D projection technology is. So most likely I reckon that the opening has been pushed back, as Disney are prioritising Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at that park, as Rise of Resistance uses a very similar trackless LPS ride technology, which of course Disney will be wanting to open that attraction as well later this year, not too long after the August 29th date. And the last point to take away from all of this massive breaking news is to consider the fact that if Disneyland are deciding to announce this new addition now today on Disney Parks blog, then supposedly Disney might have even grander plans to unveil at D23 Expo in August for the Disneyland Resort, as we previously heard rumours of the addition of a Frozen themed land being added to Fantasyland, which would line up with the Frozen lands that have already been confirmed to be coming to Disneyland Paris, Hong Kong Disneyland, and yes, Tokyo Disneyland as well. And so that's some pretty major news, but we also have some other news regarding the Disney Skyliner. But before we get into that, I just want to say a quick thanks to Mickey Travels for sponsoring today's episode, as Mickey Travels are only one of a select few travel agencies in the entire world that have Disney's Platinum Earmark status. So if you're looking to book a Disney vacation, Mickey Travels will handle all aspects of your trip and do it all for free, as they never charge for their services. So to get your free quote today, visit mickeytravels.com in the description box or call them on the number below. But now let's turn our attention on over to another big project at Walt Disney World, as we received our first inside look at the Disney Skyliner Gondola cabins. As first of all, as we can see here, the cabins will have these wooden bench seating that elicits the same design language that can be found around Walt Disney World, with these cabins theoretically holding up to 10 guests. However, I doubt they'll ever run with 10 guests per cabin unless it's insanely busy, and most likely they'll operate with an average of 6 to 8 people per cabin, and obviously they'll try to keep friends and families together within the same cabins. And then the next thing to take away from these videos is the ventilation that is built within the Skyliner. As with 3 vents on one side and 2 on the other, and additionally more ventilation units underneath the seating that can be seen here within the video, there will be a constant cool airflow throughout the entire cabin. And then in addition to this, if you combine that with the heavily tinted window wraps that will help prevent direct sunlight into the cabin, and the fact that you're moving at a confirmed speed of 11 miles per hour, then it's easy to see that Disney have taken into account the climate when implementing this system. But for those members within the Disney community who still bring up the air conditioning argument with relation to the Disney Skyliner, just remember that air conditioning would require battery packs that would increase the weight of each cabin, meaning that there would be less people per cabin and also less capacity for the overall Skyliner. But the big factor for why air conditioning isn't the best idea for a gondola transportation system is that you are only within the cabin for a short time, before the doors open for a minute of boarding procedures where all the cool air that has been built up within the cabin will then escape, and then you'll enter the cabin with the outside temperature again. Whereas with air ventilation, it immediately provides relief to the guests and most importantly fresh consistent airflow throughout the journey. And that brings us to the next lot of confirmed details about the Disney Skyliner, as Disney have stated that the travel times on the Skyliner will vary from as little as 5 minutes to a maximum travel time of 15 minutes for the longest route, which is exactly what we expected and as we reported last year in November, as you can see here with these estimated travel times. And now, given all of this confirmed information, we can now work out that the system should have around a 2,500 to 3,000 people per hour capacity, which is basically the equivalent of Disney operating an additional 30 full buses every single hour. Which means that when the Skyliner comes online later this year, it will really add much needed transportation capacity to the entire resort. But this system will be just as efficient, if not more efficient, at aiding guests with disabilities or families with strollers, as it will be similar to the monorail with the platform height and the cabin floor height being the exact same level, meaning that entry in and out of the gondola cabins will be extremely easy. And probably the most exciting part of the Skyliner is the character wraps, as it's now been confirmed that there will be 22 character variants when it takes to the skies on opening day. And each one of the cabins will have an electrical supply for lighting and onboard audio, which will be used for announcements and most likely music as well. And so the last thing that was revealed by Disney is that they are expecting the Disney Skyliner service to begin early cast member previews in August, which means that it will not be opening earlier in separate opening phases as it was previously rumoured, and instead it will be in full operation by September. But there is still a chance that it might just soft open just before Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opens on August 29th, which is obviously what Disney are really aiming for, as there will be a massive influx of guests at Walt Disney World and Disney's Hollywood Studios for the opening. But now let's shift gears away from Walt Disney World on over to the other side of the Atlantic with Disneyland Paris. As this past week, Disneyland Paris had its second big Inside Ears news event, where it was officially announced that at long last, Phantom Manor will be opening on May 3rd in a couple of weeks. And this will be so much more than just a standard refurbishment, as Imagineering have fully enhanced every part of the attraction, from new illusioneering tricks to switching out the portraits in the stretching room to enrich the storytelling of this attraction, as at the same time Imagineering have really gone into the narrative of Phantom Manor and built out the storytelling in a very cohesive way. But we'll dive into all of those details when the attraction reopens at the beginning of May, so stay tuned for that video. However, that wasn't the only big news to come out of the event, as up until now we've been under the impression that the Studio Tram Tour would be removed as part of the Walt Disney Studios Park expansion that begins to break ground this year. And well, it's now been revealed that it will not only be staying within the park, but it will also be moved to a new section of Walt Disney Studios, which is most likely to be this area here. But instead, it will be rethemed to the Cars Tram Tour, with it featuring characters from the popular Pixar Cars movies, with the attraction set to reopen in summer of 2020. And in addition to that, we also learnt that the former Art of Animation, which has been closed since the beginning of this year, has now been confirmed to become the Animation Celebration, that will feature a sort of mini Frozen sing-along show within Walt Disney Studios Park, with that scheduled to open in the next year or so. But now, it's over to you, Walton, as I would like to know if you could add or reimagine any attraction within Disneyland Park, what would it be and what would you retheme, reimagine or replace it with, and the reason why. And of course, don't forget to put the timestamp for where the hidden Mickey appeared somewhere within this video, along with your suggestion or your comment, to be in with a chance to win one of these official DSNY Newscast enamel pins. And congratulations to this Waltoneer here for winning this suggestion from a previous video where we were talking all about the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run attraction within Galaxy's Edge. And so that's it for today, so go ahead and subscribe down below if you're new to this channel, hit that notification icon so therefore you always receive an update whenever we release videos, usually on a Tuesday or Thursday, or breaking news like today. And if you enjoyed today's video, give this video a massive thumbs up as it really does help this channel out. And I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.